in the 40-yard dash.
I mean, you know what? I'll go ahead and give it this. Zach Taylor did just come from the Rams coaching camp, and they have Brandon Cooks, and Cooks has that same speed that Ross does, so maybe he uses them in the same sense.
Right. That's what I was thinking, too. In other news, for dynasty owners of Miles Sanders, he has finally hit the field for Philly and has, quote-unquote, looked the part of a feature running back for the Eagles. He was dealing with some hamstring issues, wasn't able to make it to the OTAs earlier on, but now he's out there. He's impressing all the coaches, putting in the work. The only thing for me in redraft, I don't think he holds much value early on in the season because you got Jordan Howard, who Philadelphia did trade for, so they have plans to use him. I think he's going to be your early down goal line back. You have the freshly re-signed Darren Sproles, who obviously is a third down master. So Sanders is going to have a tough time carving out a role in this offense. I think it's going to be more running back by committee to begin with anyway, but I think Howard is going to be the one who benefits at least early on. But, you know, in Dynasty, definitely hang on to Sanders because 2 years down the road, he could be a guy that's really paying off for you.
You said Miles Sanders?
Miles Sanders, second-round pick out of Penn State.
All right.
He's kind of a do-it-all.
Cool. Just picked him up in fantasy.
All right. Are we ready to rock and roll, Dylan?
I think I am.
Yeah. You know what? I think we are. Real quick, what are your guys' thoughts on Zeke and Melvin Gordon? Are they on your draft radar at all? Are you touching them at this point?
Not until
Zeke or Melvin? No.
So I can stash them.
All right, fair enough. So
they're the type of guys
overall,
that you stash and then kill in the late season playoffs because they finally are able to play or healthy enough or whatever. Or at least if they don't end up, you didn't waste high draft capital on players that could help you early on in the season. But yeah, you still got to draft those guys because if you don't late, oh my God, and they kill you, you'll kick yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's the same deal with Todd Gurley, right? I mean you don't want to hit him too early, but at the same time, the value gets to be too much in those second, third rounds. So it's going to be interesting. I really can't wait to see where those type of guys go. So without further ado, those of you listening, finally it's going to pay off with our first ever mock draft, 3-man mock.
Woo woo!
Going from the NFC North division only. So that is the Packers, Bears, Vikings, and Lions players to choose from only.
At your house, Dylan?
I am. I've got a list. I've got each of our names, and they will be available later on Twitter for the first and goalers to vote for to see who has the best roster for fantasy championship.
Uh-oh. Then now you're putting pressure on me.
That's right. I'm going to have I'm not going to start the stopwatch per se, but, sort of a touchy first pick in this draft.
Because he had 160 targets last year. He had 111 receptions, 1,300 yards, got 13 TD. Like, he literally, is the definition of a PPR wide receiver, nightmare to go up against for any team. If you're facing a team with Devontae Adams in it, you better hope you got enough flex people to counter whatever points he puts up. And the fact Rodgers told him, I'm probably going to target Devontae a little more this season. So what's that going to be? 200 targets for Devontae? So I just know he's going to perform. If they win, lose, he's always going to have those points up on the board.
Man, it's a great point. I mean, I think you guys can both agree that there were some question marks when guys like Jordy, guys like Randall Cobb aren't showing up as much. Is Devontae going to step up and be the number one we needed to see? And, boy, did it pay off last year for him.
Second in touchdowns since 2016. He's only behind Antonio Brown, so he's in good company.
I said it before, and I'll say it again if you ain't listened or heard me say it. All you need to know about Davante Adams being a stud, the only guy I'm putting ahead of Davante Adams, and it's for the same exact reasons but on a larger scale, is Nuke, okay? Nuke does it for years and showed up and showed out with garbage at quarterback. If you don't want to give Davante Adams credit for Brett Hundley in 2017 and everybody else on his team disappeared, and he had, 14 or 15 touchdowns that year and 3 yards short of 1,000 yards? Come on. With Brett Hundley. There was plays where he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if he was standing 2 inches from it, folks. And Davante Adams showed up. And you want to forget that season like it never happened, but that's all the proof you need. And Nuke is the only other guy that's shown me that he can show up and show out without a stellar quarterback play. Everybody else is, I don't know. I haven't seen enough without a guy that's at least way above average as far as play. So that proves Davante to me. All I need to know.
Davante, he's such a fantasy monster. I mean, like you guys said, 3 straight years with double-digit touchdowns. So, I mean, just check the boxes. Consistency, there it is. Does the quarterback look his way? Yes, 169 targets last year. Is he an explosive player? Yes, 92.4 yards per game last year. So, definitely a great first pick. I'm jealous. I was hoping you would pick Aaron Rodgers and let they just fall right into my lap, because I certainly was going to take him if you didn't. And with that being said, I have the second pick. I have a great few players in mind. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers comes to mind with his history of performing in fantasy football. Obviously, a guy like Dalvin Cook comes to mind with what he could be with a 16 full games healthy. Figures to be the 3-down back in Minnesota. With that being said, because I do place such a high value on durability, stability, and getting those PPR points, with the second overall pick in our First and Goal podcast NFC North draft, I'm going to take Mr. Adam Thielen.
Ooh, I had a feeling that was coming.
I kind of thought you were going to go with a Viking for some reason. That's
right. I'm gonna blow the horn. I'm gonna yell out "Soul," all that stupid stuff that Minnesota Vikings fans do. Because I think Adam Thielen is just the same with Davante Adams in a way.
He's a catch stud.
He's a catch stud. I mean, yards per game, 85. 1,300 yards, just about the same as Davante Adams. 9 touchdowns, so he's still got room to improve in that area. He can hit the double digits and up those numbers. 153 targets, not bad considering Stephon Diggs had 149 targets. So if there's a little bit of disparity, if Stephon misses a few games, whatever, Thielen is a fantasy stud. The first half of last season, 7 straight games of 100 yards or more. He was just such a beast. He was winning me week after week. Sort of fell off and crashed at the end. Burned a lot of fantasy owners who may never forget Thielen again. But I'm taking Thielen with the second overall pick here.
Good pick.
Okay, so that leaves my turn then, huh?
That's right. You got the double pick. You got the back-to-back with this snake draft.
The double banger.
This is pretty easy for me. It's Aaron Rodgers and Tariq Cohen.
Ooh. What do you like about Cohen? I'm surprised he was your first running back.
Well, first of all, it's a Nagy offense who came from an offense that utilizes a back just like him. That's why they got rid of Josh Howard. Then instead of replacing the back with a guy like a Howard type, they went out and drafted a guy who Dave and I liked pre-draft in Montgomery, who couldn't be any different than Dave and I are as far as body style. And therefore, you can put both of those guys on the field at the same time. Nagy comes from that traditional offense that loves to utilize the back. You've seen it in Kansas City with Andy Reid. And Cohen in a PPR league, I wouldn't draft him this high normally because I don't think he gets the carries. But in a PPR league, I think he's got tremendous value. Aaron Rodgers, come on, that's self-explanatory. I don't even have to say that. Duh.
My man.
Yeah, you didn't have to explain one bit about A-Rod. I definitely expected you to take him. And I'm glad you kept him off Dave's team so he doesn't have to name his team Mr. Rogers' neighborhood yet again.
But what do you think about the Cohen pick?
I'm a little surprised, to be honest, but I totally get why you went with him in a PPR league. Cohen is going to definitely be the third down back on that team, whether it's David Montgomery or Mike Davis, both who've shown a few passing skills in the past, but Cohen's role is certainly locked up there, and Nagy's going to use him on the gadget plays. If your league rewards punt return points, kick return points, those are even more ways that Cohen can score you some points. So it's actually not a bad pick when you add in the special teams factor, and I like it. I mean, even in plays where Cohen's not the main back, right? He could still line up in the slot, so he's going to be on the field a lot, and it's really not a bad pick at all.
Those were all my thoughts precisely.
Well, I guess that brings it back to me. So far, taken in the first round, Dave, you have Devontae Adams. I took Adam Thielen, took down a Thielen. And Jay, you doubled up with your boy A-Rod and then took Tariq Cohen. Tariq out of Chicago. So I guess that means it's time for a little bit of a running back run. I'm also going to take a running back. I'm going to take a guy who, after the recent news of the release of Theo Riddick, who's been a thorn in the side.
I know who you're going for.
Many a Lions running back of the past, because he is such a good passing running back. I'm taking Kerryon Johnson from the Detroit Lions, who now...
Kerryon, the wayward son.
That's right. You got Bevel coming in from Seattle, who plans on running a run-heavy offense. You got Patricia, who also loves to just pound the rock. And now with Theo Riddick out of town, Kerryon Johnson becomes the main third down running back. And if he can, get those carries to, 250 area, 250 rushes with about 50-plus balls thrown his way, I think you're talking great value. And a guy like Dalvin Cook was super tempting, and I might regret it later on as the season goes if Dalvin can stay healthy, because he is going to be such a weapon on that team. But right now, with the injury history of Dalvin scaring me, I am going to take Mr. Kerryon Johnson.
Very nice.
That's not a bad pick. And you know what? People forget how good of a back he was coming out of, I think it was Auburn, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was an Auburn Tiger.
Yeah, and he was a heck of a back, and I liked him when he was coming out, and I just don't think he's been given the opportunities enough and a big enough role. So that's a pretty sneaky pick on your part, Dylan.
Well, thank you. It feels early, but like I said, with LeGarrette Blount out of town, with Theo Riddick out of town, I think they're going to hand the reins as a true three-down running back over to Kerryon Johnson. 641 yards last year, plenty of room for improvement there, and only 3 touchdowns, 32 catches. So with an 82.1 catch percentage, so there you go. I mean, pretty good hand. Targeted 39 times, caught 32 passes. So if Kerryon gets a full workload, I'm expecting big things from him, and I took the gamble on him over what other people may perceive as more talented Dalvin Cook, but a big injury risk with him.
I believe it's my
Dave's
double
turn.
back pick.
Oh boy, here we go.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and grab my QB early because I'm not getting left with the duds. I'm grabbing Mr. Captain Kirk Cousins. Come on, boys, and command my ship. And then, as my next pick after that, I'm going to take Kenny Galladay.